DreAllDay.com.
You are now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve, you got a missing persons report out on it because you can't find it. It is not showing up yet. And on top of all of that, this mental stuff is great, but now we gotta actually do something with this, right? We gotta turn this potential energy into kinetic energy. So now you get the personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves you to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And we put all this together for you here. And what you're listening to right now, we put this together. We have streamlined our process. We have created a codified system. We have a university, wrote a book on the subject, and you're listening to the daily masterclass. We covered it all. And when they got augmented reality and virtual reality ways of putting this out there, we're going to do that too. And we put all of this under one umbrella that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is building a brand around you. Now, this is a topic that I would think, just knowing myself and knowing that I've been here for all damn near 2,000 episodes of this show, I would think that I had already talked about this. And I had talked about branding many, many times here on the show, and I'll tell you about that in a moment. But this is one that I wanted to lay out a step-by-step framework for how you can build that brand around you, make that brand make sense, and really, first of all, for you to connect with it, because if you don't connect with it, there's no way you're gonna get anybody else to connect with it. And then once you connect with it, then you can get other people to connect. And the way that you get other people to connect is by you believing enough in it that you're willing to communicate that message in a way that other people, first of all, understand it logically, but also emotionally can buy into it. And that's really based on your nonverbal communication, not just the words that you say, but your verbal communication matters as well. So there are a lot of people doing this these days, or at least either they're doing it or they're trying to do it, build a brand around themselves. So I want to make sure I lay out this framework. But before I get to that, let me refer you to some episodes of this very show where we have talked about branding and brand building. Two places that you can listen to these episodes. First of all, if you go to workonyourgamepodcast.com, you can see the full archive of the show. And every episode that I mentioned here, you can just pick them out and listen to them at your convenience. Another place you can find these is if you go to dreallday.com/podcast, or just go to dreallday.com, click on the search bar. There's a little magnifying, you know what the search thing is. You use the internet. Click on that, and then just type in the number of whatever episode that I mentioned here. Type that number in, and it will come up in the search result. You can go listen to it right there on my website, dreallday.com. Again, so it's workonyourgamepodcast.com. You get the full archive. I would suggest you go there so that you can just bookmark that page. You can go to the full archive anytime you want, or you can go to dreallday.com and you can pick out each episode just based on the number. Another place you can look is in SoundCloud as well, because our show is hosted on SoundCloud. So if you just type in Dre Baldwin and then you type in a keyword, i.e. the topic, or you type in the number, it will come up there as well. I would tell you to look on Spotify or Apple or one of the podcast aggregators. The challenge with that is we have so much damn content that they can't fit all of our content into their feeds. So if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify right now, you will notice if you scroll as far down as it goes, that eventually before you even get to, I think it goes to maybe, as of this recording, goes to like 1,200 something episodes. You can go all the way back, and we are already into, what episode are we at? We're already into the 1700s here. So it will only go back, 3, 4, maybe 500 episodes, but we have 1,700 episodes. You can listen to all of them, but you have to go to one of the places that I just told you. So if you didn't know that, now you know. So now with that being said, let me tell you about these episodes where I talk about branding. Episode number 1391. I told you about building a business before you build a brand, because the brand itself is the reputation and people knowing you and collecting the vanity metrics on the internet, such as subscribers, followers, likes, comments, etc., etc. But the business is you actually putting money in your pocket. So if you had to choose between the two, which one do you want? And you can answer that question. And if your answer is what I think it is, then you need to listen to 1391. Build a business before you build a brand. Episode number 1239. This is one of the episodes that I refer to all the time. What people crave from your brand is authenticity. People want to know that you are for real. And then when I say for real, meaning you're for real in terms of what your brand is about versus what you're about. Do they match up? Because if there's an incongruency, people are not going to buy into it. And everybody has a sixth sense for bullshit these days. It gets sharpened every day because we are being inundated with everybody else's message. Episode number 1233, personal branding. Make people feel like they know you. We're going to talk about that a little bit here in today's episode. Episode number 1010, How to build your personal brand on commodities such as information and knowledge. If you happen to be doing, let's say you're a business coach and you coach people on starting a business from nothing and building an email list or how to sell a course, and you look around and you notice that there's 1,000 other coaches teaching how to build an email list and starting a brand from nothing and how to make your first $1,000 and how to create a course. You're like, damn, well, everybody else is doing that. Why would I want to do the same thing? Well, I'm going to tell you how in episode number 1010, how to build your brand when you are selling a commodity, meaning something that a bunch of other people are also doing. How can you stand out and carve out some space for yourself? There is a way to do this. And if you look around, you will notice that it ain't that many different ways that you can sell information and knowledge, but there are millions of people selling information and knowledge. And a lot of them are actually making money doing it. How is that possible? I'll tell you how in episode number 1010. Episode number 878 is another episode that I refer to all the time. Key for building a personal brand, you know what it is? Personality. Because if you had a personality of a drywall, you have a personality of a cardboard box, nobody's going to buy into you simply because there's nothing entertaining nor compelling about your presentation. And if you're boring, then you're going to bore other people. And who's going to pay attention to that? Do you pay attention to people who are boring? Me neither. Episode number 829, how to make your name or brand stand out. Guaranteed. You want to make your name or brand stand out, you want a guaranteed way to do it, listen to episode number 829. Episode number 779, branding starts with what you say about you. And that is really just about the way that your confidence, first of all, and then your verbal and nonverbal communication about your brand. Episode 257, how to build brand credibility. You want people to know that your brand is credible and worthy of their trust, time, and attention. Episode 257 will help you out with that. It's the 257. Episode number 205, staying authentic in your brand message. So this was a precursor to that episode about authenticity back in 2016. And in episode number 159, 15 is more than 0. And the topic is building your brand. In other words, when you are first starting out and you're getting 15 comments or 15 likes or 15 views on your content, should you keep publishing anyway, even though you're not getting that much traction, at least compared to what you expect to get, or at least what you're comparing yourself to somebody else? Yes, you should. And I explain why in episode number 159. And one more, episode number 93, the basics of building your personal brand. All that being said, let me explain something to y'all. Now, I could take all those episodes that I just gave you. I just gave you about 5 hours worth of content where I'm talking about building a brand from a bunch of different angles and basically everything that you need to know to build a brand from scratch. I could take all those episodes, put them together, and package them up and offer that as a course and sell it to you. I'm telling you how you can access all of that material for free. And I'm gonna tell you something right now. I'm gonna give you a secret that's no longer gonna be a secret. This is gonna be an open secret right here. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna take all that material. I'm gonna put them all together in a package. I'm gonna give it a nice name. I'm gonna put them in order. I'm gonna make it make sense for you and tell you step by step how to follow those. And then I'm gonna create a product out of that. And we're gonna put that in Work on Your Game University. Just the effort of me doing that and organizing it and putting a name on it and all that makes it worth money. And there's gonna be a value to that. And I'm gonna make it available in Work on Your Game University. But even if you're not in the university, all you had to do is go to each episode that I just told you, and then you can just go listen to them on your own. Let me tell you why I'm giving you that open secret, right? Out in the open like this, is because of the people who are listening to this who need that material. Maybe not all of you even need that. Some of you are not trying to build a personal brand, but you're going to listen anyway because you know I'm good at what I do and you're going to get value from it, even if I'm not talking about a topic that's specifically for you. The people who actually need that material that I just laid out, 99% of you/them are not going to go do what I just said do. And that's why I'll be able to sell it anyway. So you can, if you can read between the lines, that can give you a business idea right there. But all that being said, let's get into the subject of what we're talking about here today. Again, the topic is building a brand around you. And as you can see, I've already given you a bunch of material on how to actually do this. But let's get into the points I want to give you here today because I'm not done talking about it. Point number 1, live your message. Now, in the materials that I just referred you to, when I talk about authenticity, episode number 1239, people want authenticity from your brand. People want to know that you are for real. I talked about developing your authentic voice in episode number 1644, not too long ago. In 1239, people crave authenticity from your brand. What I mean by this, people want to know and they want to see, they want to be able to tell without you telling them that what you talk about, what you sell, and what you promote, you really live it. That's what people want to know. They want to know that if you're the type of person talking about, well, you got to sell yourself and you got to put yourself out there like I do, that you are actually out there selling yourself and putting yourself out there like I am. So are you actually living the shit that you talk about? Now, I don't know how old everyone is who's listening to this, or any of you is a hip hop head. If you come from you grew up with hip hop in your veins, like it is in mine. But an era that I grew up in when it came to hip hop, we're talking the 90s going into the early 2000s. One of the biggest things in hip hop music, specifically rap music, was being real. It was the reality of it, that everything you talked about was real, i.e., if you were rapping about doing certain things, you better have been actually doing that in your real life. You rapped about being a gangster, you better be a real life gangster. You rapped about being tough, then you better really be tough. Whatever you rapped about, you had to actually do. And if you were not living the stuff that you rapped about and people found out, you lost all credibility. You lost all your fans, and it could basically ruin your career. That's how it was. And people bought into that authenticity. It's not that way anymore. We're in a different era. I'm not saying as if it's a negative thing, but it's just a thing, and it is absolutely true. Anybody over the age of 30 who comes from the hip hop culture, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and you could tell me if I got that wrong. But the whole point is, when it comes to your brand today, we're talking in the business world or anything that you're doing, one of the biggest things you need to do to brand yourself is you got to be about what you're talking about. And again, being real, ladies and gentlemen, living your message does not necessarily mean you have to be doing anything negative. And so even though I use those examples, and that example that I talked about coming from hip hop music came from the gangster rappers who were rapping about drugs and guns and violence and a lot of things that probably wouldn't be good ideas for you to try to go live out. And they were saying, well, listen, everything I'm rapping about, this really happens, and people bought into it. The reason it was so compelling to everyone was because many of us don't live that life. So when we heard somebody rapping about it so openly and so brazenly, we were like, damn, that's interesting. Because I would never see that life if I had to go do it myself, because I'm not into it. But if I go buy a CD and I can listen to Jay-Z talk about it, or 50 Cent talk about it, or Tupac talk about it, it's interesting because it's a glimpse into a world that I otherwise would never have seen. But then it became so commonplace and so many people did it, it became a little bit, it wasn't unique anymore. And nowadays we don't even have, gangster rap's pretty much over. It's not gangster rap anymore now. People snitching on themselves through their own phones and their own social media. So that's a whole different conversation for a different day. But the whole point, when we're talking about building your brand, whatever you talk about, be about. Look at somebody like, since we're talking about rap, look at somebody like Kanye West. Kanye West wasn't rapping about being a gangster. He wasn't rapping about shooting anybody. He was rapping about, listen, I'm a musician. I really believe in myself. You know, I wear Louis Vuitton backpacks. I wear pink polos. This is what I'm about. And is he about that? I think he is. That's what he was about. And people bought into that. People said, okay, this guy is authentic. What he's rapping about, he actually does. You look at somebody like Drake. He doesn't rap about being a gangster. He raps about being a sensitive guy who's in touch with his emotions. And he makes songs that a lot of his music, you could say, is more targeted towards the women and more men who are more in touch with their sensitive side than some guy standing on the corner trying to be a tough guy. Does it work? I would have to say it does. And that works for Drake because he lives his message, at least from what we can see. I mean, I don't know the guy off the mic or off camera, but it seems like what he's about, he's willing to express that. It's the same thing with your brand. Your brand doesn't have to be about making music. Your brand can be about teaching women how to make their first $1,000 on the internet. As long as you're living that message, everything you talk about, you should be actually doing. There's a guy by the name of Russell Brunson. I talked about him in my favorite podcast episode. He has a show called Marketing Secrets. And one of the things that he says all the time is that we here at ClickFunnels, that's the name of his company, he said, we eat our own dog food. In other words, the stuff that I tell you, the users and my audience, what I tell you to do, I do. If I tell you, you can use our software to build your landing pages, understand we use our software to build our landing pages. We don't sell you ClickFunnels and then use WordPress for our websites. No, we use the same stuff that we're selling you. So the whole point is you got to be living out your message. So somebody like myself, I got a show here every day. I introduce discipline, confidence, mental toughness, personal initiative. Am I perfect on these every single day? Hell no. Because a lot of these messages that I put out here to you, sometimes I go back and listen to my own shit to remind myself of what I said, to make sure I'm living out my message. But these things, discipline, confidence, mental toughness, personal initiative, I live these things. This is what my life has been about. This is the way that I've created the things that I've created, and that's the reason why I talk about it. So if I was on here talking about something that I didn't actually do, it wouldn't be authentic. You wouldn't buy into it. Something unconsciously would tell you that there's something about this dude that's just not connecting. There's some incongruency here. You might not have even been able to explain it, but you would feel something in your instincts would tell you that something about this guy is just not right. Any of you ever watch Shark Tank? There's a woman named Barbara Corcoran. She's one of the sharks on the show. And when there's a business owner coming up asking for an investment, every once in a while, Barbara would always say, you know what? And the other sharks who are looking to invest in that company, they would say, yeah, I'm interested. And Barbara would say, you know what? It's something about this gentleman, something about you I'm just not buying into. Something about you is just not right. And that was her instincts telling her there was some incongruency that just wasn't hitting right with her. And she would say, I'm out. I'm not interested in investing in this entrepreneur or this company because something about it is just not touching me the right way. Now, maybe she ended up correct. Maybe she ended up incorrect. We don't know. And we all know it's dramatized for television. But the whole point is she was very in touch with that instinct. And if you are just not connecting for some reason with somebody that seems to be saying all the right things, it's probably because something in your instincts is telling you that there's a disconnect there, but maybe you can't quite put your finger on it. You got to make sure there's no disconnect with you. And the easiest way to do this is to live out what you're going to talk about, or talk about the things that you live. That's another way you can do it. It's the exact same thing. So whatever way you're living and whatever you're about, that's what your business should be about. That's what you should angle it around, or whatever you're going to make your business about, you got to make sure that you're living it. It sounds like a simple enough concept, but this is the first point that I'm opening with because there are so many people out there who don't do it. This is why I got to open with this and talk about it, because even though this sounds so easy, it sounds so simple. You're like, all right, Dre, I get it. You know, the things you talk about, you should be doing. And if you're not doing it, you probably shouldn't be talking about it. It sounds so easy, right? But so many people aren't doing it. How many people do you see online talking about stuff or promoting stuff or trying to project a certain image, and they ain't fucking living it? You can tell that this is not who they are. Or any of you, even better, know somebody off the internet, but then you see them on the internet, and the way that they're presenting themselves and showing themselves is completely different from how you know them. And you're like, all right, I know this motherfucker's lying. That is a disconnect. There's an incongruency between what they are showing you and what they're actually about. And that incongruency will destroy your brand before it even begins. Or even if your brand does work, you're able to fool the people for a certain period of time. As the saying goes, you can't fool all the people all the time. Basically, eat your own dog food, is what I'm saying, as Russell Brunson says. Whatever your dog food is, make sure you're eating it. You must be patient zero for your own work. When I talk about the work on your game philosophy, I was patient zero for it. Discipline I used to turn myself from a nobody to a somebody in the basketball world. Confidence when I didn't have any growing up as a kid. I went through all the struggles in trying to figure out confidence. And because I figured it out, now I'm able to teach it to other people because I know what it feels like to not have it. Mental toughness, going through the challenges and the times when things weren't working, even though I was doing all the hard work, and then continuing to work anyway until I got the outcome that I wanted. I have lived that. That's why I'm qualified to talk about it. Personal initiative, going and making things happen. Not waiting to see what everybody else does, but doing it first, even when it doesn't work, then doing something again, then trying again and trying a different approach until I got the outcome that I wanted. I have been doing these things. So I was patient zero for everything in the work on your game philosophy. And that's why I can confidently speak about it to any audience in the world. I don't care who it is or how qualified, or not even qualified, but accomplished some people in the audience may be. Even if somebody might think, well, that person's better than you or they've been around longer than you, they can't fuck with me talking about these things because I have lived these things out. All right, so there's no questioning the stuff that I'm talking about. There used to be this back in the day. Those of you, again, who are old enough, you grew up in the 90s, I know you know about this. There used to be this commercial that would come on TV all the time. It was like an infomercial, and they probably made a ton of money now that I'm thinking about it, knowing what I know now. The company was called the Hair Club for Men. You remember the Hair Club for Men? If you're over the age of 30, you remember Hair Club for Men, those commercials. Now, I didn't know it as an infomercial back then, but it was definitely an infomercial. And those guys spent a lot of money on those commercials because those commercials came on TV every day, all the time. Hair Club for Men. And it was basically, the way they would show it, it would be like a box. Now, I don't know if they were actually selling a boxed product that you could buy in the grocery store, or they were selling like a service where you would go in and actually get serviced by anybody. I don't even know. But I do know that it was called Hair Club for Men. And I remember the picture, it would be two side-by-side pictures. It'd be a man. Well, first of all, it'd be a man on the commercial. And he'd be talking about, I can't remember exactly what he would say. If you Google, you can look this up on YouTube. There are probably plenty of commercials of Hair Club for Men out there. Who knows? They might still exist. The Hair Club for Men. You know what? I got my phone sitting here next to me. I'm going to Google Hair Club for Men and see if they still exist. So I see Hair Club for Men. All right, they're still running ads. I mean, they got hairclub.com. So hairclub hairclub.com is the website that I'm on right now. For over 40 years, our hair loss experts have helped over 500,000 clients regrow, replace, and restore their hair. No matter what stage of loss you're experiencing, we're here to help personalize a solution for you. So the Hair Club for Men got smart, and they realized that they were cutting out half of the population. So now they're not Hair Club for Men, now they're just Hair Club, period. And the first picture on their website is a picture of this white guy and a brown-skinned woman. If you're watching this on video, you can see me. I'm holding the phone up to the camera. You can see it right now. Hair loss solutions, because I guess women lose their hair as well. So Hair Club is, I'm pretty sure Hair Club is actually, yeah, they got products and I guess they have services as well. I don't know, I've never worked with Hair Club for Men. You know, I shave my head. But anyway, in the Hair Club for Men commercial, this is the reason I'm bringing all this up. There would be this white guy talking in a suit, and he'd be talking about losing your hair, and maybe you didn't feel as confident, or you just felt like you were getting old because you were losing your hair. And he would go through his whole pitch about the Hair Club for Men and what they would do. And obviously this pitch was very effective because, again, commercials are not free. And any of you didn't know, advertising is not free. So they kept running these commercials because obviously they were making money. And at the end of the commercial, the guy would always say the same thing. He would say, I'm not just the president, I'm not just the Hair Club for Men president, I'm also a client. And they would show a picture of him back in the day, the before and after. It would be the before picture when he was bald-headed, and then it would show him on the screen right there when he had this full head of hair. So I used to be bald-headed, but I went through the Hair Club for Men process. I was patient zero for my own shit, and now I'm selling it to you. The whole point is, you got to be patient zero for what you're doing. So look at your message, your brand message, and what you're talking about, and you need to check yourself every now and then. Am I actually living this shit out, or am I just talking about it? And make the necessary adjustments. Point number 2. Today's topic is building a brand around you. Craft a signature subject/topic/area of focus that you own. Let me say that again. This is a very important point. Everything I say is important, but I'm gonna say this one again. Craft a signature subject/topic/area of focus which you own. Let me give you some examples. Grant Cardone is a guy who you probably know who he is. If you Google him, you can see who he is. He spends a lot of money on advertising himself. He's based in South Florida, similar to myself, and he has a whole thing called 10X. He wrote a book called The 10X Rule. If you look up 10X and Grant Cardone, you're gonna see he owns the website 10xrule.com. He's 10X everything, 10X this, 10X that. He owns that. If you think 10X, Grant Cardone might be one of the people that you come up with. He probably was not the first person to ever say 10X. He damn sure wouldn't be the last. And there are a bunch of other people who have 10X this, 10X that they talk about. But if you were to say who's the person who has the most ownership of that brand, that idea, I would probably say it's Grant Cardone. He spends money to make sure that he continues to own it. He owns that. A guy named John Lee Dumas, he has a podcast called Entrepreneurs on Fire. I was on that show in 2016. I was on Grant's show in 2015. Then I had a show on his network for about 3 years after that. But anyway, John Lee Dumas has Entrepreneurs on Fire, where what he does is he would interview, I don't know how he does his show now, I haven't listened to it in a while, but last I heard from JLD, when I communicated with him, he was basically telling people to pay to be on his show. And I said, ain't no way, I'm not paying anybody to be on anybody's show. I give enough value, I don't need to pay. I pay in my value. But anyway, I was on JLD's show back before he was making people pay. And he would interview an entrepreneur every single day. And he did his show for I don't know how many episodes he did. He did a lot of episodes of that show, Entrepreneurs on Fire. Very, very popular show. Damn near every entrepreneur you heard of been on that show. And ironically enough, Russell Brunson of ClickFunnels, I first heard of ClickFunnels through listening to John Lee Dumas' show, Entrepreneurs on Fire. And Russell was on the show maybe 3 weeks before I was on the show. And that's how I first found out about ClickFunnels, ironically enough, 6 degrees of separation. But anyway, John Lee Dumas' show is about interviewing entrepreneurs. So what is the signature subject that he owns is not entrepreneurship. The subject that I think JLD owns, and if JLD is listening, he can correct me, I think is learning and focus. That's really what his thing was about. Learning, getting the right information from the right people, and then focusing, narrowing in on what exactly do I need to know, what exactly do I need to do to get specific results. And then he created a few products, and he probably has plenty now. I'm not in his ecosystem these days, but I know he had like a productivity type of journal, a motivational type of journal, a mindset type of product that he was making. He had a community for people who wanted to start a podcast. He may still even have all of these things. But the thing that I got from JLD was his thing was all about learning and focus, because his show, he asked the exact same set of questions every single day to his guests. And then he would try to suss out the most important things that he got from them. And then he would create his materials, his products, his sellable stuff around the stuff he was learning from all these entrepreneurs. So basically he shortened the learning curve for his audience by taking all the stuff he learned from entrepreneurs. And he said, all right, I'm not going to make you go learn all this stuff because I already learned it. I'll just tell you what you need to know based on the experience that I, as the host, have. He was basically taking the role of what we would call in content creation, the reporter. He went and got the information for you, and then he would translate it and tell you the important parts that you needed to know. And he owns that category, and that's how he's been able to build his business. Now, again, he's probably even still building it to this very day. I mean, JLD's he's not an old guy. But anyway, another person that I give as an example is a woman by the name of Brene Brown. Now, Brene Brown is an author. I know she's from Texas because she talks about that all the time. Now, she's another person who, grant JLD, Brene, I'm not in any of these people's ecosystems these days. I have been in and out of all their ecosystems at different times, but I'm not a fanatic of any of them, not a huge follower of any of their material. I don't even know specifically what any of them got going on right now to this very day, to be completely honest. But when I was thinking on this point, I thought of who are some people that I know just own a signature area or a topic. And these are some people who came to mind anyway, despite the fact that I'm not even looking at or listening to or following any of their material to this day. Now, Brene Brown, she's a person who's written several books. She's a researcher. She's a professor at a university. She's got a really, really popular TED Talk, probably one of the 10 most popular TED Talks of all time. She's got courses. She probably does coaching. I'm assuming she probably has some type of membership site. She's written several best-selling books. I've read a few of them, which are really good. Now, her audiences tend to angle more towards the females, but she definitely has males in her audience. As I said, I've read a couple of her books that are great, and I have a few more that I haven't read yet. But what is Brene Brown? What is her topic? What does she really own? I would say, and I'm sure we got some Brene Brown fans listening to this, I would say that she owns the categories of daring and bravery via embracing imperfections. Daring and bravery via embracing your imperfections. That's what I think Brene Brown owns, because she talks about imperfection and vulnerability and just being willing to dance with that imperfection and dance with your vulnerability and be willing to put it out there and be willing to own the fact that you have it, even though you previously may have been conditioned to think that it's a weakness or something wrong with you, but owning it and being accepting of it. I think that's what Brene Brown owns. So understand that these three people, learning and focus with JLD, Grant Cardone could be 10X. You could also say Grant Cardone is just all about money and sales. He always talks about money and sales, and 10X in your money and sales. So his is more, you can put that into a box. It's pretty simple. JLD, learning and focus, also relatively simple. Brene Brown's is much more niche, but when you really get into what she's talking about, you're like, damn, she really knows her shit. So these are people who own those signature topics. Somebody like Dre Baldwin, work on your game. So I created something brand new that didn't exist. What is work on your game? I created it. All right, what is it? You got to listen to me to find out. And once you know what it is, you say, okay, discipline, confidence, mental toughness, personal initiative. If you want to condense that down, you could say mental toughness. Or you could say, depending on where you know me from, you might say, all right, if you want to play basketball overseas, you got to highlight that dude. He's the plug. He has all the information. He has the most information of anybody out there. And that's still a fact to this very day. And this is the point that I'm making here. We're still on point number 2. The topic is building a brand around you. This is the second point. Just to reiterate, crafting a signature subject or topic or area of focus that you own. So the subject could be something that you made up. It could be something that already exists and you decide to own it. The topic could be something that we already know as a topic, but nobody has really owned that topic. It could be an area of focus that you own. For example, learning and focus are not new ideas, but who has actually owned it when it came to helping entrepreneurs? I would say a guy like John Lee Dumas fits that category. Is he the only one? Probably not. There may be others who I'm not even thinking of. Maybe I don't even know that they exist. But this is the point that I'm making, is you can own it in a certain space and you can own it with a certain audience. You don't have to have the whole world, but let's say you got 10,000 people who see you as the person for that topic. If you have some things to sell, do you think you can make a living from that? I would say so. So the secret to all of this. You might be saying, okay, well, Dre, I get it, but I'm not Grant Cardone. I don't have his advertising budget. I don't have the audience of JLD. I don't have the eloquence of Brene Brown. I don't create content every single day like Dre Baldwin. How am I going to own a topic the same way that these people own a topic? Let me tell you what the secret is to owning a topic. You ready? Write this down. Just own it. That's it. The secret to owning a topic is to own it, i.e., let me go into more detail on this. Keep talking about it. Decide on what that topic is going to be. Talk about it from every angle, every perspective, everything that happens in your life that you can somehow connect back to your topic. Talk about it. Do you see what I do on the show every single day? The show is 4 specific topics I bring up every day when I introduce the show, but am I always talking about them? Today's show is about building a brand around yourself. I introduce the show with discipline, confidence, mental toughness, personal initiative. None of those 4 principles is specifically what today's show is about, but I always can bring it back. That is a skill. That's what I do. That's what my business is around. Take the experiences that I have and the things that I think of and experience and see and get asked about, and I can wrap it back to my main signature subject, topic, or area of focus, or fit it under that umbrella or whatever it is that I'm talking about. You understand? This is how it works. You take somebody like a Brene Brown. Again, I don't know what she's talking about on a day-to-day basis, but I guarantee you she could take whatever happened with COVID in 2020 and she could relate it back to what she talks about. Guaranteed. She could take the presidential election and find a way to fit it under the umbrella of what she talks about. Bravery and daring and embracing your imperfections and vulnerability. I guarantee she has done that. Again, I don't follow her material, but anybody who does, you can concur, you can confirm that I'm right, that I guarantee she did this, and whether it was on a Facebook post, a blog post she wrote, a podcast she was on, some appearance that she made somewhere, guaranteed that she did this. I guarantee that Grant Cardone found a way to take the presidential election and relate it back to getting your money right and 10xing and making sales. Guaranteed that John Lee Dumas could take whatever was happening in the presidential election and relate it back to learning and focus. So do you understand what I'm saying here? Hopefully you're really getting what I just explained to you, because this is gold, what I just told you. You could take the different people who talk about completely different things. Grant, JLD, Brene, Dre Baldwin, take the exact same circumstance that everybody saw and relate it back to their subject in their way, because that's how you own a topic. Is to take that, whatever is going on, and relate it back to your shit and make it make sense for your audience. That is your job. If you're going to build a brand around you, this is the job right here. So you don't have to, because I don't sit in a dark cave and just come up with random topics just out of nowhere every single day. I experience life. I see what people are saying. I read the comments. I reply to my DMs. I see what challenges people have. I look at what challenges people are having they don't even know that they're having. And then I say, all right, how does this relate to what I talk about? Because my mind is already conditioned to figure out how it relates to work on your game topics the same way Brene's is conditioned to figure out how it works to her topic. And Grant, he's conditioned to figure out how it works to his topic, because our business is built around us doing exactly that. And then that's all you got to do. Just keep talking about your topic. Find ways to relate whatever is going on back to your topic. Create a process around your topic. This is the way it becomes a signature, is when you have a process. I'm sure Brene has a process for daring and bravery and embracing your imperfections and embracing vulnerability. JLD, I know he has processes because he talked about them all the time. Grant Cardone, he has processes. I've read his books. I know that he has processes. Dre Baldwin had processes. Every single day I'm giving you a process. Every day I'm giving you a framework on this show. I've given you 1,700 frameworks over the last 5 years. This is what I do. So create a framework and a process around what you do that you can teach and you can explain. So when I tell you that we have a work on your game system, when I tell you we have codified our process, that's what I mean. I did an episode on codification back in episode 1101, codification, which is how you take your knowledge and you make a process out of it so that other people can understand your knowledge. The codification is where you go from having knowledge to making money from your knowledge. So if you are not compelled to listen to episode 1101, I think I just changed your mind. Codification is where you take what you know and now you make a process out of it, so someone who's a complete idiot to what you know now can understand it, they can use it, they can follow it, and they can get a result from it. And results, ladies and gentlemen, they're worth money. Write a book about your topic. It is not a coincidence that Grant Cardone, John Lee Dumas, Brene Brown, Dre Baldwin, all are multiple time authors. It's not a coincidence. People who are thought leaders, or they own a subject, or they own a signature topic, they write a book about it, because a book, still to this day, even though we have self-publishing and literally anybody can write a book, still having a book around certain topics and with your name on it is a credibility piece still to this very day. And I think it will continue to be, simply because most people don't read. So if you're willing to write a book, then you have already put yourself ahead of 98% of the population just by doing something that most people would never do, even though they could easily do it for free right now. Brand yourself with your idea, and brand your idea with you. Again, Grant Cardone 10X, you know, is 10X. Brene Brown, you know, she's going to talk about vulnerability and daring. And if she goes on somebody else's show, somebody's going to ask her about that. Why? Because that's what they know her for. If I go on somebody's material, they're going to ask me about work on your game. They're going to ask because if you look me up, you're going to keep finding work on your game, work on your game, work on your game. What is this work on your game thing? Dre, explain it. They're going to ask me that question, guaranteed. Why? Because that's what I talk about. I have connected it with my name in such a way that it cannot be, they cannot be unentangled from each other, for a lack of a better term. I don't even know if that's a real word. I just made it up. Yeah, I'll brand that too. This is a simple but not necessarily easy process for you to be the one who talks about X, whatever that topic is, more and better than anyone else. And this is how you can create your own topic. You can create your own idea. The work on your game didn't exist until I branded it. I mean, that phrase was not new. If you hear it, you understand it, even if you have no idea who I am. I was walking the other day. I was coming from the gym and having a work on your game sweatshirt because it was a little bit chilly down here in South Florida. And there was this homeless guy sitting on the bench at the bus stop. And he could see me coming. And I had this work on your game sweatshirt on. And he saw me and he said, yeah, man, you're right. Work on your game. That's right. And I didn't say anything to him. I know he didn't know who I was. I highly doubt he listens to podcasts or has internet access. But he looked at that hoodie and he saw that phrase and he knew exactly what it meant. And he concurred with it just by me walking by. So I know I didn't create the phrase. That's the point that I'm bringing up here. But if you Google work on your game, you're going to see me. So you can do this. I'm not telling you that to impress you, but to impress upon you. You can do the exact same thing, but you got to own that topic. How do you own something? By having more of it out there with your name on it than anybody else does. That's how you own it. And then the competition is deleted. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is building a brand around you. This is a hell of an episode that I'm doing right now, if I may say so myself. This is one that you might want to save and bookmark and listen to more than once, especially those of you who are or trying to build a brand around yourself. I'm giving you the game right here. All right. I hope y'all are paying attention. Point number 3. Remember something. I talked about this in episode 1515. That subject is you are a marketer. You are a marketer. What does that mean? To own your topic and to make sure that the world and your audience knows about it, here's what you have to do. You must market yourself. All right, marketing yourself and selling yourself they're interconnected. They're not the same thing, but they're interconnected. Marketing is the relationship that you have with your audience. Selling is the exchange that you create. So you can market to someone without selling them anything. Like for right now, I'm marketing to you that I'm a person who knows about how to build a brand. I'm not selling you anything. You don't have to pay me for this. All you're giving me is your time right now and your attention. There's not a sale happening. There's no transaction, but I am marketing to you that I know what the hell I'm talking about. When I post something on social media, I'm not charging you for it, but I am marketing that I know what I'm talking about on that subject, or marketing that, hey, you look at me, look at this beautiful photograph, or like this quote that I'm saying. I'm marketing. That's marketing. That's part of building a relationship. To own your topic, you must be a marketer. And understand something, you brand builders out there, especially those of you who are creatives, who have every day you wake up with 5 new ideas for different things that you can do. Marketing is just as much your job as the actual products and services and selling is. And the creation is a better way of saying it. There are many people out here who I know are very creative. They have great ideas. They have topics that there's an audience for. There's a topic, for example, I'll give you an example. My sister was on my podcast, episode number 721, with Dre Baldwin Clark. She's a professor at UCLA. And she wrote this article that I just read about a week ago from when I'm recording this. And she was talking about, one of the things that she talks about all the time is black people, and especially with people up and coming. Let me try to explain exactly what she does. But she talks about black kids and coming up in the American system, especially when it comes to schools, and how they get treated at schools, especially by maybe other white students or white teachers and things like that. She talks about all these things, and she's into critical race theory and all these things. And don't get me to trying to explain these things. But she wrote an article around that subject. And the things that she wrote about, I didn't necessarily agree with some of the things that she was saying overall, but I sent her a message. And I told her that, I said, I don't necessarily agree with the angle that you're taking on this, but that wasn't even the point. I wasn't writing her to go to start a debate with her. I was writing her to let her know there's a huge audience of people who really are into that subject and they really will agree with the things that you're saying. And I think she's really articulate enough. She's smart enough. She has a family. She has kids. She's been through, I know where she came up and what school she went to because I went to damn near the same schools. She has the credibility. She has a law degree. She has a PhD. So she has the credibility. She has the articulateness. She has the ability to explain it. And there's an audience of people for it. I said, the only thing that you're missing, Latoya, is that you don't market yourself. You're not a salesperson. If she could really start marketing and selling herself with everything else staying the same, she could be one of the biggest, when it comes to social justice, she could be one of the biggest names out there if she would embrace this concept of marketing. And I'm bringing that up to tell you this. I know a lot of people who are very creative, who are great at creating things and coming up with ideas, and they have great niche topics and areas that they could own and subjects that they could own, and they have material that is really good around it, and I see glimpses of the greatness in their material. The challenge is they are not good salespeople. Some of them are terrible salespeople. Some of them are non-existent salespeople. Some of them just wouldn't know marketing if it slapped them in the face. They just don't market themselves, so they are anonymous. The last thing you want to be is great and anonymous. Marketing and selling is just as much as your job as it is to create. Creating and being good at what you do is great, but you must sell yourself. Work on your game has 3 steps. Work on your game, that means you have skill, you can do things. The second step is selling yourself, getting yourself out there, putting yourself out there to the world. You have to be able to perform. We understand that life is a performance-based business, but I've said this many times, I'm gonna keep saying it, okay? So if you heard me say this before, don't be mad, and when you hear me say it again, you should be happy because I'm gonna keep saying it. Sometimes in life, you have to sell yourself just to get the chance to sell yourself. To show your game to the world, you might have to sell yourself. In order for me to play basketball, I had to sell myself just to get on a team to play basketball. I didn't just walk into the gym and say, all right, Dre, you're on the team. Let's see what you can do. No. I had to sell myself to get on the team. Sometimes in life, you got to sell yourself just to get people to listen to you. Or if you want to give a TED Talk, you got to sell yourself to get chosen to give the TED Talk. Then you can see what the audience has to say. But if you can't get chosen to give the TED Talk, nobody will ever know what your idea is. You understand? So that is the marketing. That's marketing. And that's the difference between being great and nobody knowing you and being great and everybody knowing you is marketing. This is the game, folks. Being good at what you do is a really good thing. People knowing that you're good is even better. This is step 2 in the work on your game process. We call it showing your game. If you do not show your game, you have game, you got it, but nobody knows about it. Having it and being the only one who knows about it doesn't help anyone else, nor does it help you because you already got the game. All right, you know you got it, but nobody else knows it. You can't help anyone else and nobody benefits from it and you can't benefit from it because if you're not helping anybody else, how are you going to get paid? Nobody's ever made money just by doing things for themselves. If you ever made money doing anything in life, it's because you provided a service to another person in some way, shape, or form. If you work at McDonald's working a fry machine, you get paid because you are doing something that's helping somebody else in some way. Even if you can't connect the dots, somebody's connecting those dots. Flip your mentality, creators out there, from being a full-time creator to also being a marketer. Even if you create part-time and you market part-time, you got to be a marketer. Marketing is the game. You got to get the word out about what you do. Even better, you could be a full-time marketer and a part-time creator. Once you've created enough, all right, you really need to shift into marketing mode because if nobody knows you, you got a problem. There's an artist by the name of, and a creator by the name of Pierre Cardin. And he was a big-time fashion guy, and he was credited with basically creating the fashion world as we know it today. He did a whole lot of licensing of his name and of his brand. And he passed away in late 2020. And I read the article about Pierre Cardin, and there was a quote that he had at the end of the article that sums all this up that I'm saying here in point number 3. And this is a quote that it would benefit you to burn this quote on your mind. And here it is, quote, "I was born an artiste, but I am a businessman." Close quote. I was born an artiste, comma, but I am a businessman. That's the way you, creator, needs to look at your brand. Yes, it is your thing to create. Yes, you have ideas. Yes, you want to put all these great things out into the world, but understand the business does not occur until an exchange is created. And the only way to create an exchange is to sell, and the only way to sell is to market. And the only way to market is you have to be intentional. Let's recap today's class. And this is one of the best episodes of the show, if I may say so myself. So again, you should probably bookmark, save, download, whatever you got to do with this one. Tell a friend. Listen to this again. When this is over, rewind it and listen to it again. Don't even listen to the next one yet. Listen to this one again. Building a brand around you. A lot of people are doing this or want to do it now, so I'm laying out a framework for how to do it. I already referred you to 11 other episodes where I talked about this. Listen to this. Number one, live your message. People want authenticity these days. They want to know that the things that you talk about, you are actually about. So it sounds simple enough, but a lot of people aren't doing it. In other words, just eat your own dog food. Be patient zero for whatever you're talking about. Like the president of Hair Club for Men, you must also be a client. Point number two, craft a signature subject, topic, or area of focus that you own. Grant Cardone has 10X, JLD, Learning and Focus, Brene Brown, Daring, Bravery, and Embracing Vulnerability via Your Imperfections. Dre Baldwin, Work on Your Game. The secret to owning it is to keep talking about it. Create a process around it that you can teach and explain. In other words, codification. Write a book about it. Brand yourself with the idea and the idea with you. In other words, keep talking about it until anytime somebody brings you up, they got to say that. And anytime somebody brings that up, they got to say you. If you bring up Work on Your Game, you got to mention Dre Baldwin. Just absolute fucking fact. Why? Because I just kept talking about it and I keep talking about it. Point number three. Remember that you are a marketer. To own your topic and make sure that the world knows about you and knows about it, you must market yourself. This is just as much your job as the creation of your products and services is your job. Being good is a good thing, but people knowing that you're good is a better thing. This is step 2 in the Work on Your Game process. We call it showing your game. If you have game that nobody ever sees, it doesn't help anybody. If a tree falls in the forest and nobody there to hear it, doesn't make a sound, hell no, it doesn't make a sound. Who heard it? Nobody. Having it with you being the only one who knows about it will not help you and doesn't help anyone else. Flip your mentality from creating to also marketing. As Pierre Cardin said, and we will close with this, I was born an artiste, but I am also a businessman. This is an excellent fucking subject. I'm going to listen to this episode 2 or 3 times myself, and I'm the one who said it. So if you want to learn how to sell yourself, I got a course called Sell Yourself. It is available in Work on Your Game University, along with 11 other courses and every other course that we create moving forward. We're going to create a course out of this shit that we talking about right here today. So listen, we got more coming. You want access to every course I've ever created. Bulletproof Mindset, 30 Days of Discipline, Selling Yourself, the whole Work on Your Game system. You want to get daily texts from me, join our community. It's all available at Work on Your Game University. That's the only place it's available. Join us at workonyourgameuniversity.com. This is a hell of an episode. I enjoyed this. Work on your game. Dre all day.